That is so serious, he would not go.
I would not go. And I don't think I would send my family. I don't know how you put a percentage on it, but it's just such a rich target in an area of the world that has you know, they've almost broadcast that they're going to try to do something there.
In a moment, I'll talk to a former Olympic athlete who is heading to Sochi, Tara Lipinski. Also, we'll talk to Mike Baker, former CIA covert operations officer, in just a moment. But Evan Perez, let me begin with you and our CNN reporting here and the reports about this Black Widow. What more can you tell us about this woman?
Well, Brooke, at this time, you know, U.S. law enforcement is working with the Russians. The Russians have handed out these flyers to hotels and other people in the region to see if anybody has seen her. They're trying to track her down. U.S. officials obviously are very worried about these games. I mean, there is the location of Sochi in southern Russia, not far away from the Caucasus region, and the scene of a lot of bombings in recent years gives them a lot to worry about. Now, the problem here is that there's not much U.S. officials can really do. This is Russian territory. They can offer some assistance, but they are really dependent upon the Russians sharing information. And, you know, as you know, there's still a lot of distrust between the Russians and the U.S. Authorities. So we know that the U.S. is aware of this effort to try to find this woman, but it's not clear that they know more than that, and they can even verify that she may be planning something at this point.
Mike Baker, to you, as I'm reading our reporting, that we've confirmed police have handed out flyers to hotels in the area asking staff to be on the lookout for this woman. What do you make of this report? What do you make of this?
Well, I can guarantee you, they've identified this one individual. That you know, they have a lengthy list of suspects and operations that are underway, counterterrorist operations. So this is not the only Black Widow or individual of concern that the Russians are looking for, and this is part of the problem. We don't have enough understanding right now of the threats, the active threats that the Russian services are acting on, and we would love to have more insight. But you know, people think of Dagestan. Just a couple days ago, the Russians carried out an operation in Dagestan, killed one Black widow and several other militants. And you know, we don't have to go very far back in our own activities here in the U.S. Think of the Boston Marathon bombings,
right.
And we've got a connection to Dagestan with the Tsarnaev brothers, and we know for a fact that the Russians didn't share the level of information that they had on the Tsarnaevs early on. So, you know, there's no surprise that there's not the cooperation we'd like to see, but I guarantee you they're talking about this one Black Widow. There are others that they're also worried about.
Tara Lipinski, you're listening to all of this. I want to talk to you both as a sports commentator who's going to hop on a plane and head to Russia, but also as a former Olympian. But first, you're going to Sochi, and when you hear us talk about Black Widows and lack of cooperation between governments, etc., how concerned are you?
Well, I would be crazy to say that it's not scary to hear about these threats, but at the same time, I've been to many Olympics, and the security is so intense and so high that I do feel safe.
As a former Olympian, just try to, if you can, help us jump into the mindsets of these current Olympians, because this is the moment of their lifetimes thus far, their Olympic career, performing at this level. Can they compartmentalize any possible fears with just needing to perform?
Yes, I would say athletes are probably the best at pushing away outside influences and just focusing on your training. And as you said, this has been a dream of theirs probably for so long, and they've been waiting for this moment. And they're also thinking about their personal performance. So you would hope that there's so much going on in their mind that this is not really seeping in and affecting their experience in Sochi. And if you look back, there has been so many threats at the Olympics. I think athletes are used to that, and they know that, okay, we're going to hear about this, but when we go, we have people that are surrounding us and telling us where we should be and where we shouldn't be, and hopefully they do feel safe.
Do you think Team USA is, if you were an athlete, let's say going over and you were competing, let's say in figure skating this year, would you or your teammates be having a conversation with the coaches or with the larger organization that if and when something happens, you have a plan to get out?
Well, I'm sure you have to take precaution. You can't take this lightly, and I'm sure all the athletes know what's going on. But at the same time, being at the Olympics, I have never experienced security that high. So hopefully that will put these athletes at ease. I mean, there is a lot of security.
Mike,
so I'm hoping,
go ahead.
It's scary, but I'm hoping that, the atmosphere is not overshadowed by this.
Mike, I just want you to comment on what she was saying, because you have to presume, and I've seen reporting on, evacuation plans. What kind of discussions do you think are happening now behind closed doors, given all the news we're reporting?
Well, there's many layers here. One is, we want the cooperation with the Russian authorities, so in part we can offer our resources, our capabilities, our intelligence gathering, and help them, develop the best possible security plan. And part of that is also that we want that cooperation because we want to take all of that information, all of that assessment back here to the U.S., and our own personnel can use that to enhance and better protect our team as they go over. So there's a give and take here that takes place. I think Tara's absolutely right. I mean, the athletes, they're on their way. They're going to go. They're going to have the time of their life. Enormous, opportunity. But at the same time, underlying all of this is the very real fact that here in Sochi, unlike in a number of other places, you have got a very long-term, highly motivated, insurgency, almost an Islamist fundamentalist insurgency going on in the backyard of Sochi. Yeah. And no matter what the Russians do to try to tamp that down, the problem with counterterrorism is it's not a zero-sum game. You never get the risk down to zero.
It's not just the athletes, of course, and Tara, we wish them well, and we want Team USA to win, but it's also the journalists and the writers and the fans just holding a collective deep breath that everything goes off okay. Tara Lipinski, Evan Perez, and Mike Baker, thank you all very much. Coming up, we